Hi.
Hello, Dana.
We're back for another episode
of Soul Sister Conversations. This is fun.
It is. It is fun because I had in my mind, we were kind of talking about what it is that we thought we were going to talk about today. And we are going to get to those. But we bumped this particular conversation to the forefront because you felt like it was something that you wanted to talk about. It felt a little bit more strong. So I said, okay, let's roll with it.
Well, here's what
So
happens.
what are we going to be talking? So this is the theme that we're thinking of, is that life doesn't happen to you, but it happens for you. And that was a little nugget that came out of our first episode. And that's where our jumping off place today.
I think so, Dana. And I'm one of those people, as you know, I really follow my intuition. And this week, we're getting, we've done our first episode, and now we're getting into our next episodes. And I get this wicked cold, and I have laryngitis, and I'm thinking, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. We have to record, and we have to be ready for the next upload on Sunday. And so in my quietness this week, I started watching Oprah Winfrey and Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth recording that they did, are you ready for this? 9 years ago.
I know, it's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe.
I watched those twice over. They're so good.
They're amazing. And so in my quietness of being sick and like laid out sick, and I'm like usually not like that, I thought, is this happening to me or for me? And then in that very first episode with Oprah and Eckhart, it really became clear, and I remember, and as we get into it, that they both got really bad colds during that taping, is that this really was happening for me.
So what made you relate your cold to this idea of something's happening for you?
Well,
how did you join those two ideas that, this cold isn't just a cold?
It isn't just a cold. Well, my husband happened to be on his week home from the ship. So he works on a ship and he lives on the ship for a week and he's home for a week. And we've been really, I don't like to use the word busy because I think that there's a whole glorification of busy on our planet. But we've really had a lot going on.
So you were busy.
Stop it, Dana. Yes. So as far as the world looks, we're busy, but we're really not. I mean, compared to most people, we got a lot of white space in our calendars, which is great because white space is the place where creativity is invited to come in. And so we've had a lot going on. My husband's father passed away a year ago, and so those things take a toll on people. And so having this cold, and then my husband has the cold, so he's got the man cold and I have my version of a man cold. So here we are, both of us, laid out on the couches. So we had these sweet moments in the last week. We had sweet moments of, you get the hot lemon water with honey, and then it's my turn to get it. And so we took turns taking care of each other. He came home with chocolate one day. And not just any chocolate, my favorite chocolate. And I thought he got it right.
Right, that's good.
And so I thought, how was this happening for us? And I think we're heading into another, we don't want to use the word busy, but another time of the year where it gets a little hectic. So now he's at dry dock and I'm heading away to do work and our daughter's graduating again. So life is gonna happen. Yeah. So we needed a week to stop.
So because you weren't going to stop, you feel like the universe said stop and forced you to take time for yourselves and have these moments and prepare for when your husband isn't going to be around and for a couple of weeks and it's going to be a little, you're not going to see him. So you feel like that's the universe acting on your behalf to say, plunk it down, Elaine.
Plug it, and watching Oprah and Eckhart again reminded me of the awareness, right? Mm-hmm. The awareness of the moment, right? The awareness of the how I was feeling. Because normally I would be super frustrated with myself about being sick.
Right.
And canceling, canceling appointments, canceling client stuff, not seeing friends. Like you got together last Thursday with our other friend Joanne, and when you guys messaged me to go, and I said no.
I thought, wow, what's up with her? The universe was holding her down and said, Elaine, you're not going anywhere.
Exactly. But Dana, and here's what I really want to say about this is that I have not always been like this.
Like what?
Like aware.
Okay.
Aware that, you know, this cold happened. Let's just take it as it is and, you know, settle in and take care of myself. Because there are things in the past. Here's a story. So I'm going through the drive-thru with my friend. I won't name her, but when she's listening, she'll know it's her. And so we're going through the drive-thru. I think we're probably heading out to go yard sailing. And I ordered a French vanilla cappuccino, and the machine was broken. And so I absolutely lost my shit. I'm in the car having a temper tantrum.
At what age?
Let's see.
You weren't 2.
38.
Yeah.
38, and I am losing my shit because I can't get the drink I wanted at the drive-thru.
Right. And that sounds absolutely crazy, doesn't it? It sounds like, why would a grown woman have a fit at a drive-thru because she can't get what she wants? But you weren't very awakened then at 38.
Oh my gosh, no. And I thought I was. I mean, that was
sure.
At that point I was probably watching Oprah.
Sure.
Right? She was part of my life, and I thought I got it. But when something little like that happened, and I absolutely lost it, and my friend looked at me like, what the heck?
What is your problem?
Right? She said, order something else. And I thought, it's not that.
It's another option here. Order something else.
But to me, it wasn't. They didn't have what I wanted, and my whole world was like, what the hell?
Right.
And I think that there was probably some years after that where I still behaved that way when things didn't go my way.
Absolutely. And so when I hear you talking about, you know, awareness, for me, awareness is awakening. And really that is what, you know, Eckhart and Oprah are talking about, is this, you know, we talk about being enlightened. It's about what, as you realize, wow, I'm not the voice in my head. I'm not the crazy lady having a freak out in the Tim Hortons drive-thru. You realize you're not all that. And you begin to awaken. You start to ask, well, who am I? Or what other way can I behave? And I talk a lot about, you know, I call it like the spiritual ledger. If you can imagine, if you're looking at a chalkboard, on the left-hand side is your highest self and the right-hand side is your ego. If you're always moving towards your highest self, that's the, when you're in alignment with your highest self. And you have awareness. But you can have awareness, as before we started recording, we were talking about this. You can have awareness and not actually be conscious. You can still go, I'm aware I'm acting crazy and I'm going to do it anyway. Right. So there is the awareness that you're starting to realize, oh, there is an ego and the highest self, and which one am I connected to right now? But that's a much better place to be in than not being aware that there's actually another option. And it doesn't have anything to do with cappuccino. It has to do with your highest self, or aligning to that space. And so that's what I hear when I hear you talk about this unconscious behavior, which is really what it is. We're unconscious when we act like that.
Oh, when I look back now, I was totally asleep and unconscious.
Right.
Yes, and my poor friend was thinking, I just need to drop her off somewhere and carry on.
Okay, go get a spiritual tuning and see me next week.
Exactly. But you know what? I guess I have to say I love that friend for not doing that.
Right.
For just being at peace and saying, okay, that's where she is. I'm going to accept her where she is. I'm going to love her where she is. I'm not going to expect her to meet me where I am. I'm going to meet her where she is. Is that grammatically correct?
Doesn't matter.
I'm going to meet her where she... Okay, I'm going to meet them where they are.
Right.
And that's really hard, Dana.
Well, that's being a really good friend. You accept people where they are at the present moment instead of reacting to it.
Right.
Right, because what you react to in another, you strengthen in yourself. So if I see you acting like that and I start flipping out, guess what? I'm just reinforcing that inside of me. I am also being unconscious. So I think it's good to have friends that can meet you where you are.
So let's take this topic to a different level. What about when we get mixed up with our family?
In which way?
In which way? Well, so the thing's happening for me, right?
Right.
So here's the next story. So here, and it doesn't just happen in the past, it happened at Christmas. So here we are, Christmas, busy day, lots going on in our house, and there's people, there's dogs. I'm in the kitchen trying to get a meal ready, and I hear bang, crash, boom. And I go out in the living room, and one of my favorite lamps is on the floor.
Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun.
Right, and I'm laughing about it right now, but in the moment, I was like, I looked in my living room at my 2 matching lamps, and now there's only one. Yeah. The other one's on the floor. So I went in, found out what happened, grabbed the lamp, took it up to my bedroom, took a few deep breaths, and went, okay, it's Christmas Day.
The most glorious
day
right. of the year.
Get it
Not
together.
always.
Get it together, Elaine, and go down. So, anyways, my vibe probably wasn't the greatest, right? And I thought, okay, you need to get yourself in check.
Right.
It's a lamp.
And so stop right there when we say get ourselves in check. So this is, when I hear that, I keep coming back to this ego and highest self. For me, if I say I'm getting myself in check, it's like I better align myself with my highest self. Otherwise, something bad is going to unravel if I'm connected to my ego. Right?
Well, because they're my family.
Right. Like, because they're the people that you can let the ego unleash on, right?
Right. And
but we can do that so easily. We're like, we don't need to be our highest self with our families. But we do. But that's we go unconscious, and we can just say, let's act poorly.
And those are the people that will love us. Well, most times.
Yeah, let's hope so.
They love us unconditionally. And I'm thinking, oh, right, I need to get this together. And so, maybe by dessert.
You've aligned with your highest self.
I was closer to.
You're closer to it. So on that ledger, you were sliding a little bit more to the...
So mine's more like a sliding scale.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
So it's a sliding scale. When I went upstairs, I went, okay, this is not, you need to be, the change, Elaine. So move that scale, that scale over. And I thought, okay, this is good. This is good. Because here's the other part of what's going on in our world right now. We're doing what's called right sizing. So it's our version of downsizing. And we're getting rid of things that we're not going to use moving forward. Right? As we, get ready to change our living environment, our living situation and that. And so I had to become unattached to that lamp. So it happened for me.
So, but when you say it happened for me, to me that feels like you're to learn a lesson, something, you're supposed to get something from that. So what is it that you think you got from it?
Well, I think that was sort of the ultimate in detaching from our stuff.
Oh, so if you're not going to detach yourself from it, Elaine, we're going to break it.
Right. We're gonna give you. So I went, okay, I gotta find another lamp because because everybody's like, well, it's pretty dark in here now. So after that, I took the second lamp and put it up on a shelf so that it couldn't get broken. Let's move that scale over to the ego again.
Exactly.
So I moved, and it was really dark in the living room. I was like, it's kind of dark in here now, and I'm like, live with it.
The life was happening for me today. Live with the dark room.
So as I was going through my house in the next week, it's like, okay, I gotta find something else here. And I found a lamp that was up in one of the other rooms, and I switched off the lampshade and I brought it down. I went, actually, that looks nicer. So it was like, okay, just detach.
Yeah.
Let go. Because whatever's there is going to work. It doesn't have to be the matching lamps.
Right. It's another process of letting go, right? Which is an act of detaching, which is what you're ultimately detaching from is your ego and probably your inner critic. And just like that little spiritual ledger, off you go towards your highest self. Hopefully. But that's that journey. And it's so interesting though, because you're talking about that now, of being able to be on that spiritual scale of moving back and forth between your ego and your highest self. But at 38, you weren't. And that shows the journey. I don't know if it's the journey of our soul, the journey of ourselves as human beings. And I think that's our ultimate purpose, is to awaken in this life. And how beautiful and wonderful it is. We have lamps getting broken and family disputes, and we have all sorts of things happening in our lives that teach us to let go and be more aligned with who we were, our most authentic self. Yeah.
That's beautiful, Dana, and I think that's a great point to finish this
Really?
podcast.
I think
it
I
is.
had more to say.
Oh, you have more to say? Okay, we're still having our conversation. Dana, dig your notes out. I'm looking at you thinking, wow, you're just beautiful. What you said was beautiful.
Well, no, because there's a couple things that come up for me as you were talking, and because those are things that happen to you specifically, but as we're talking about busyness at the beginning of this podcast, and I think so many people are just going through their day and they're not getting anything from their day. And they're not getting anything from their day because they're not conscious in their life. We're mostly, imagine that little spiritual scale or ledger, that you're over there on that ego side, and we're moving through life worrying about our 9 o'clock meeting and how we're going to figure out our lives and what we got for supper and how am I going to get everything done. And it just makes me think about how people are almost like little zombies going through life, and we're wondering why we're not happy or we're not feeling joy. And it's only when you have things like lamps that fall off and incidents that challenge us, and those might be the ones that are going to teach you awakening or awareness. It might have to be something bigger that comes along, unfortunately.
Well, there's the other sliding scale, though, right? So it's the tiny whisperings to your soul, right?
Oh yeah, it starts off small and it'll get louder if you don't pay attention. Right. Guaranteed.
Yes.
Right. So I think that it's that. How do we get people to be more conscious in their lives, and how to get them to turn inward? Because everybody's trying to find their joy. They're trying to figure out why I'm not happy. And we build these crazy lives where we're just running from one thing to the next, and sometimes you go, what am I doing?
Right,
here?
with a full schedule, no white space in it, right?
No white space.
Right, no invitations to creativity or joy. It's just
just be quiet. Right, to sit with yourself.
Yes.
Like, I think we look out to the world to try to figure everything out, and we're pointing the wrong way. That we need to be going inward to figure that out. And I didn't know that for years. I mean, I was the same as you. I would go through life unconscious. You have practiced behaviors. The same thing, freak out at just about anything. Or just be short-tempered, impatient. And it really wasn't until I began to awaken that I realized, oh, there's actually a better way. And that is to go inward. And I think that that's when you begin to realize that life is happening for you and not to you. It's not like, how come so-and-so ticked me off? No, you don't have to respond. You don't actually have to be ticked off. What they're doing is their own behavior. All you can control is what you're doing, right? You can't control what happens to you. You can only control how you react to it. So I think that is a spiritual maturity. And for me, I would think as you're moving on that ledger from ego to highest self, that we get disconnected, right? So I try to stay in that space of my highest self where my creativity is and my excellence, and that's where love is found, and gratitude. And then somebody cuts you off on the highway and over you are aligned with your ego, right? And what is different about who I am now versus who I was, say, 10 years ago, is that I would stay in that space of ego and be ticked off all the way to town. Well, I parked my car. I can't believe that person cut me off.
So you just keep rolling it around in your head.
You keep replaying it. But the difference now is that I move back to my highest self much more quickly. And for me, the return to your highest self is a sign of your spiritual maturity, the speed at which you can do that. And that is the real challenge, to do that daily. I mean, unless you're Jesus or Buddha, I don't think you're staying connected to your highest self 100% if you're a human walking this planet. But that's the journey.
Right. And I love what you said, right? About it's the speed in which you come back, right? So when the cappuccino happened, and I probably carried that around all day, I was probably like the next day thinking, I hope they got that machine fixed.
Yeah, I'm going back tomorrow to get right. Better be fixed.
To the lamp, which, took me, I guess, through a couple courses of a meal. And then looking at my family and thinking, yeah, these are the people that I have Sunday dinner with every week, right? Mm-hmm. Like we enjoy each other's company. We do this because we want to stay connected, right? Yeah. And so I don't want to alienate the people that mean the most to me.
Right. Yeah. So that's our learnings. That's our you know, those are huge spiritual learnings. That's a lot to take in and talk about awakening and understand that there's a bigger picture here, or be able to reframe your life so that you see it in a different way.
And it's the stuff of everyday life.
Yeah, you are going to be constantly challenged. I will say this, I said every morning is an opportunity to take a spiritual journey, because when you wake up in the morning, you have to ask yourself, what side of the ledger am I on? Am I aligned with my highest self right now? Or am I already, you know, grumping and grossing when I get out of bed and attached with my ego? And I would say that one of the best ways to do that is to express gratitude, because it's a way to bring you back to the present moment. And I have literally had days where I get out of bed and you get out and you stub your toe on the laundry basket, and
the bus is late and your children are late.
And everything's going wrong. I have literally gotten back into bed, put the covers over me and go, let's do this again.
Right.
Because, you know, you have an opportunity to reset, and you get to determine how that's going to go. So I think that when you wake up in the morning and you check in with yourself, you know, where am I on that spiritual scale today? Do you feel aligned with your highest self right now?
Right now, I feel like, even though I have a cold,
yeah,
I feel good. I feel happy. Yeah. And I feel close to my highest self. I think being here with you, Dana, you know, and getting to share these conversations, because we have lots of them, and it's like, okay, let's turn that, you know, mic on, and let's bring this conversation out into the open. I think that is, or not even thinking, I feel. I feel in my soul, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
This is good.
Well, I think that's a good point, because when you're connecting with people that allow you to be authentic and be who you really are, it draws you toward your highest self. It makes it a nice experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.